Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode of Spring Break Repotting Season, it's the Barberry. This is one of the barberries from my dad's front or side yard garden area. He got rid of about 3 or 4 of them. I picked about 3 or 4 of them out, put one in the yard, it died. I put 3 in pots and they're still alive. So I can take care of things in pots, but in the grounds things seem to go south. We are going to take this thing out of this monstrous pot and see what's going on. Now, if you can see on this guy, we've got all the red from the old leaves, but all these little green things are popping up. You can see we've got some new foliage that is going. So a perfect time to get this thing in a new pot. We're going to condense it down. We've got 3 big trunks. These 2 have no growth on them. This one has all the growth. We might just saw this whole side off, reposition the whole plant into a much smaller pot, and get this thing taken care of. So we need a place to put all this dirt. Big pot, a lot of soil. Time to dig in. This tree has a couple of wires holding this thing down. We had a lot of soil in there. One of the things to consider about when you're putting trees in pots, even though we needed a lot of room for this big trunk structure, if you have a tree that's just swimming in too much soil, sometimes the roots have a hard time taking hold. And so you have to be careful not to overdo it. And this one might have been one of those candidates where I had a little bit too much soil, too big of a pot, so it'll be nice to get this thing in a more controlled environment with less soil in it. All right, let's take a peek at this big mound of all kinds of roots and structures. We've got some old, we've got some new. We're certainly going to be cutting some of this off for sure. Look at all the fine feeder roots though on this side. All those yellow roots, really nice. This has a very yellow trunk. And when you cut off branches, they're all very yellow. It's a very interesting color. So I think I am going to cut off the one side. So I'm not going to get too crazy with root pruning here. I just want to get some of these out of my way. But I don't want to do too much of that. I don't want to cut in too much dirt right now, or the rocks I should say. But let's see what's left on this tree. See this root right here. I don't know where that's coming in between these stumps over here, so I gotta be careful. I want to keep as much of this as possible, and so you can tell most of the growth is on this side that you're seeing in front of you, and that's where all these fine feeder roots are going towards. And there's not much over on this other side, which is why we're going to get rid of that and go for this one stalk. Now the question's going to be, you know, how much of the stalk can we cut back without hurting this too much? And will this be saw material, or are we just going to chop away at it? It's going to have to be saw at some point. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot on this side. A little scragglies over here. You could see there was a trunk right there. Yeah, that's no, there's a little bit of yellow in there, so there might have been some life to that. So remember, when you're working with barberries, you do need a good bit of patience with a lot of the branches, because there are a lot of thorns on these guys and they can be very, very ouch. So these big roots I don't need. All these big, thick, chunky roots. And right now, with all those roots I cut off, I didn't get rid of any of the fine feeder roots in that section. All the fine feeder roots are still intact. The one thing that I have learned with my barberries is that they don't like to sit in a lot of water. When I had my automatic watering system on last year, these were the trees that suffered the most. It's not generally a good idea to set up a watering system that's on an automatic system for every single tree in your garden, because some trees need more water than others. And some you just are going to probably create more harm than good. I think it's time for the ratchet pruners. Thank you, Tom. From Growing Clips Bonsai for Seniors. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. Yeah, the ratchet pruners. We're going to get this top piece off here. Let's test out these pruners. Here we go. Ready? Oh, that's so nice. And there it pops right off. A little bit of life perhaps in that, but not a ton. I'm going to have to cut that off eventually here. Just wanted to try my ratchet pruners. Can I get this one off? There we go. We got some of that off. Oh, there's some of that yellow. See that yellow right in there? Yeah, that part's still alive. I don't think I can get this wide enough to cut any more. It's a pretty big, that's a pretty big trunk right there. Oh, we can get this one off. Here we go. With the ratchet. The tip was even on another branch and it's still cut right through that like butter. There we go. Our ratchet pruners from Tom are sensational. There we go. So that could sit below the soil level now, so we could leave all that there, but that's a lot of wasted space and stuff that we can just get rid of. So let's see if I can get a couple more clips here. Get these roots out of here. And one of the problems of cutting with a saw with something like this now is, there we go, a big chunk, is I don't have much leverage now with this. So I got to hold on to this one piece of trunk. So if you can see this tree right now, this is growing right here. This is another trunk that we could cut off with the ratchet pruners, which we will do. Here we go, big cut. Right there. That didn't have any life to it either. So there's all our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trunk tree, 10, 11, probably more than that. We've got that little tree left. So it doesn't have much size anymore, but these other trunks just were not doing anything and they were not supporting some longevity here, so we had to take care of this eventually. So we have this great big chunk of a root, and this might just die away eventually, and we can kind of chip away out of it year to year. I would like to bury most of it though, because I don't want to look at it long term. Now we got that pretty low, so we could get this thing pretty much completely below the soil and keep chipping away at it as it dies away, although it's best to cut it now when it's kind of alive because it's softer tissue, and if it gets all dead, it's going to be really hard to get anything through. But this really cool looking little side texture here with this this old root, and could that be a part of the stumps of the life of this thing? We could just keep that and just see if it becomes part of the design of this ancient tree. Now it looks, of course, sawed off, so I don't know if we could put a Dremel to it and make it look kind of, you know, a little bit more like it hollowed out and died out that way. I'm gonna cut this branch off, or this root off. Didn't quite get it all the way. We got this down here to monkey with. So my goal here is to get it down as little as possible. And if some of it sticks up above the surface, I'm okay with that. What I need is really one of those good handheld saws, that you know, circular saw that's handheld size, and you just kind of saw this section off. I don't have one of those right now, so I'd have to wait till the next repot on this one to get down that low. But look at that chunk. It almost looks like a heart. It looks like a heart with all the valves going in and out of there. And we are just a big old mess here. So there we have our heart with a tree on it. Look at all these nice roots flowing out here. So this tree looks to be in good shape with those roots. This was one of the pots I was considering, about half the size of the last one that was in here. And we can go like this. And the question is, if I lay out these roots and we'll do this, and we have these exposed roots here, this exposed thing right here, we could maybe Dremel some of that. Again, I can't cut off now because I just don't have the right saw. That's going to be for a later time. It is amazing. All of these roots are coming from this base of this new tree. How crazy is that? And we're just cutting this down to nubs. So the problem with this pot is this pot's even too big, because if I could put this all in here and cut this off here and make it more of a square pot, this might be too big. But it's deep enough to set in there, and then we have those roots that are showing. And we get another tree growing out there. Here is the pot I was considering. But we need half of that space. So I think that one's going to be put aside. I went and found out some other pots in the garage. I found this really nice oval, and it might just be enough. It might be a little on the small side, but I think it's going to work because look, this is a nice kind of big mica type pot, and that's too big. And this one's a little bit cheaper version of that, and that's way too big. And so we've got this really nice little oval here with this heart with a tree on it. And can we just place it in the tree like that, pot like that, and you can kind of see that right there. All right, I think we're going to use that one. So I put a little bit of window screening on the bottom. I couldn't find my sheetrock tape. So here we go. We got this root over here coming through. It's like root between rock, but it's between the heart of my my beating heart of my tree. Isn't that unique looking? I mean, that could be suspended in air. Looks like one of those avatar type images. Okay, now we're going to trim a little bit of the roots off. I'm going to make them a little bit shorter all the way around. Cut off some of these fine feeder roots a little bit shorter. That's all I'm going to do. And then I don't think I have to wire this in because the rocks, the bonsai soil will keep this really nice and still because of this great big chunk of wood right here. So I'm thinking about, okay, that is the front. Like that. I had a lot of smalls on the top half of that last ginormous pot. So it was a very big pot. I had small fine soil in it, and it just held on to its moisture. So I know now that my barberries haven't seemed to respond very well. They haven't responded very well, I should say, to really wet soil. So I've got some bigs on the bottom, and I've got some medium here now on the main part of the tree. And I think this of my two, I think I have two left, maybe not three. But I think this one is going to be in really good shape. So let's continue to see where these roots will go. And now, you know, this is a big old chunk here. I want to make sure it's not going to wobble too much. We might need a rock in here, but... And could I have wired around this? I probably could have wired right here, and I wouldn't care if it marked those up. But that's where it was last time. I could see it. It was kind of annoying to look at. So we've got some roots that are sticking up here already. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. I like this trailing root right there, and all the roots do go into the ground. So maybe we put a little sphagnum moss around here and promote those roots. And we don't get them completely gone. So we have this root trailing down here. It's really kind of a high place for a root, though. I think I'm going to get that one gone. Try to pull it up without pulling up too much of the other ones. There we go. So we got a couple of roots here hanging up that are probably just going to dry out. And again, we can put little fines up here to make a little mound for this last section of roots. So my debate is if I keep those other roots for right now. We got a little thing we can clear off here in the middle. Got some old leaves. The old red ones are still on there. I'm just going to leave those on for right now. So if the roots are going in towards this trunk, I'm going to get rid of this root system. So that was an old trunk piece that broke off. So there we go. There we go. We're going to get rid of some of that. I gotta be careful that I just move the whole thing a little bit here. So we're gonna definitely have to make sure that we chop this in here. But there's not a whole lot more I can do with this tree. I don't think I'm gonna cut too many branches off. We're just gonna get this soil tamped in there underneath this exposed old multi-trunk tree. Got the roots tucked in there, just a little bit of exposed roots, a little bit more of the soil around those. But again, I want well-drained soils. If those top ones dry out a little bit too much, I'm okay with that. There we have the makings of a really interesting barberry tree. I'm going to get rid of this nub here. I'm going to send that one flying. Okay. I'm going to let these grow and see what they do. I'm going to cut this inside branch off here, and that bud right there off, so we have some separation between these two branches here. Cut that down a little bit. Cut that one down a little bit, that one down a little bit. Cut these tips off. There we go. So we have this tree with a big old clump down here. Again, new life after the old. Who knows what happened there? It's almost like it was a big grove of trees in someone's yard and they cut it all back and hey, look, it's growing back, everybody. Let's keep it in there for a little while longer. And it rejuvenated it. So we can go ahead and we can just leave that alone for right now. And again, maybe the next time I repot this in about 2 more years, we can get rid of some more of this structure here. We can maybe take a Dremel to it, just give it some kind of texture so it doesn't look so sawed off. That would make it look like it's maybe rotted a little bit more than it has. Okay. So let's give this thing some water and we'll call it. Well, there we have a new barberry tree. We trimmed it back just a little bit. We've got all the nubs still on there. That'll be next time. I want to get all these roots to continue to strengthen up. We've got plenty of roots. I think we'll be in good shape, and I just don't have the right tool to get rid of that. I think what I would need is some kind of vice clamp to hold this together or hold it tight, and then I could saw this piece right off. But I don't want to damage any of this side, so I'd have to grip it over here. But it looks kind of fun. It looks like it was a big, old, huge, gnarly specimen, and now there's this rebirth here. This kind of takes away from the miniature aspect ratio here. This looks like it could be a small tree all in and of its own, but then you put this here and it's like, oh, okay, it's still a baby tree. So it ruins that perspective for right now. But again, I'll get rid of that in the future unless it becomes a decent feature if this thickens up real nice. We want to keep this alive, let it continue to push out new growth. All these red leaves will fall off, all the green ones will take over, and we will be in good shape with the barberry. So that was in a much bigger pot. Let's take a peek. Look at this, everybody. From my dad's garden, I didn't want to take too much of the original dirt out. Look at how big that was compared to this pot. Now we have controlled growth in a small pot. We have plenty of room for more growth, and that can go for some big old monster forester tree that I'm going to dig up in the next part of spring break repotting season. Who knows? So let's get this back in the cabin cold frame where it came from. It's slowly waking up, It's going to be 29 for a high on Wednesday, 29 Fahrenheit on Wednesday of this week. It's not a very warm spring break, so this has to go in the cold frame. We're not taking these things out of the cold frame for a good solid couple of weeks for sure. Now there are some Minnesota hardy trees I could, but I'm just going to wait for a couple of weeks here. So we'll get this back out there and keep an eye on it. Hey, take care of you. Take care of your bonsai. You know what? We're going to catch you very soon on the next Repot.